You've caught me playing with one of the better decks in the standard format. Today we're going to take a look at Jolteon VMAX and figure out exactly why this thing's so good. So if you've played with Jolteon VMAX before, you'll know exactly how this works, but if you haven't, let's talk about it right now. Jolteon VMAX is a very strong Pokemon. It has 300 HP and is a Lightning type, which is kind of awkward considering the prevalence of cards like Single Strike and Rapid Strike Urshifu, but they're being checked by Mew at the moment, so we don't need to worry about them too much. Our attack is Max Thunder Rumble. It deals 100 damage for a Lightning and a Colorless Energy, which doesn't sound like a lot. When we read the text here, the attack also does 100 extra damage to a benched Pokemon that has any damage counters on it, and now you can start to see why it is so powerful. Against decks that play Inteleon engines, we can target down Sobbles and Drizziles before they are able to evolve, and for decks like Mew, for example, we are able to target down Genesects in order to knock them out, as well as other Pokemon along the way. Now, Max Thunder Rumble is a very good attack for 2 energy. We also have cards like Elemental Badge, which reduce the cost of this attack by 1 colorless energy, which means for a single Lightning we're dealing effectively 200 damage. That is very, very strong. We also have an Inteleon engine of our own. Cards like Quick Shooting Inteleon are very important to be able to place damage counters on your opponent's benched Pokemon to get the full effect of Jolteon's attack. Plus, we also have the Drizzile Shady Dealings engine as well to help us search out our specific cards. Cards like Zigzagoon are also important to put 1 damage counter on the bench in the early game. That can be very, very useful, and it's easy to search out with a Level Ball and Quick Ball engine. One card that's also worth talking about is the fact that we can play Cheryl in this list. There's only one here. We can search it out with Drizzile or Inteleon and can heal all of the damage off of our attacking Pokemon. The good thing about Jolteon is since it only attacks for 1 energy, Cheryl will only discard 1, you just attach another and start attacking with your Jolteon again. Finally, and arguably the thing that makes this deck so strong in the current format, Path to the Peak as a stadium is very, very powerful. Decks like Mew VMAX do not function very well if they cannot use their abilities. So if they can't replace this stadium, then Mew is going to struggle. Lots of other decks are playing Path to the Peak at the moment, and you'll find you'll probably get yourself a couple of easy wins against decks like Eternatus and things like that, just because Path manages to stick for a turn or two. In general, though, Jolteon is very, very powerful against a myriad of different decks. I'll take it over to the ladder and show you exactly what I mean. Alrighty, time to get cracking here. We've got a great start. Jolteon in the active, plus Sobble, plus a second Jolteon. We can grab another Sobble here with Level Ball. We can really get ourselves going quickly in the early game. We'll attach the Speed Lightning to the active. We'll probably bench that Sobble as well. And I think we are going to leave it pretty much at that. We can pass the turn here. It looks like we're up against Duraludon, which can be a very, very difficult deck to beat for a lot of decks. Duraludon doesn't allow your opponent to attack with Pokemon that have special energy attached, which is super, super awkward. Jolteon obviously playing with special energy is an issue, and then they also have the added benefit of being able to accelerate energy using cards like Metal Saucer, which is super, super good for it. It's very strong against decks like Mew. It does very, very well, so very popular at the moment. We'll see if we can overcome the issue of not being able to attach special energy. We do have Path to the Peak, which can slow our opponent down, but since we are only dealing 100 damage a turn, there's a good chance they'll be able to get on top of us quickly. Of course, it does depend on how they set up. At the moment, their setup has been pretty slow. They've got an attachment. They do have those 3 Pokemon in their hand. They've got double Duraludon and a Zacian V, so they're obviously just having a think at the moment about what it is that they need to do. Maybe should they bench any of those Pokemon? They don't really need to at the moment, and if they do bench one, then they are giving me an option to deal damage to it. So they are having a think there. They have elected to throw down 1 Duraludon, though, and then they'll just pass, which is fine by me. I'm going to chuck down our Jolteon VMAX. Obviously, I haven't played. I had to reinstall the game for a reason which I will keep to myself. Well, the camera wasn't working. I'll just tell you. The camera wasn't working for me to scan code, so I have to reinstall the game, which is frustrating. Hopefully, when Pokemon Live comes out, we don't need to deal with that. I'm going to grab Elemental Badge here with the first Drizzile. This will allow us to attack. Then we can go with the Level Ball, we're going to grab a Zigzagoon. And we'll throw that down and place some damage onto the bench Duraludon here. We'll play down Path of the Peak, and then I think we just Drizzile. We could go for another Drizzile, or we could go for, I don't know, a card that we don't really need. I think Fan of Waves we don't really need. We could just grab another Elemental Badge. I think let's just, what do we go for here? I think we can just go for a... I think we'll just leave it and then just research. You never know, we might need the fan, and we don't really need to search for anything there. And we've got another Jolteon, which is fantastic. We can attach an energy if we want to. May as well do that to the Jolteon on the bench. And we'll leave the Drizzile as it is, and we'll max Thunder Rumble here, dealing 200 damage, 100 to the active, 100 to the benched, with a single energy. You can see why this deck is so popular at the moment. Very, very strong. But here comes the double Duraludon. Now, Skyscraper as the ability means that we cannot attack with special energy. We do have Path of the Peak in play, but I guarantee that our opponent will, at some point, try and remove that stadium. So, a bit annoying. They've gotten rid of our Speed Lightning energy there and the Capture energy, which is a bit of a pain, but they can't use their Zacian's ability because they don't have access to their abilities thanks to Path. We're going to Quick Ball away our Fan of Waves here. We'll just grab something that we don't really care about. We'll grab the Jolteon. Seems perfectly reasonable. Then we'll use Drizzile here. We can search for a trainer card. I'm going to go for a Professor's Research. We don't have any way of searching out energy at the moment, which is unfortunate. And I will also play down this Inteleon here to see what else we can grab. We could maybe grab a, maybe a, oh god, I don't know. This is a tough one. We can probably grab that fan now since we don't need it. And, I mean, we may as well just get a Level Ball. We don't really... Oh, a Quick Ball. We don't really need a Quick Ball. We're just going to discard these anyway. Let's Quick Ball away the Jolteon. We'll get rid of a Sobble. That seems fine. We've got our board set up. It's not an issue. Then we can research it away and go from there. We've got a Lightning Energy, which is fantastic. That will allow us to attack. And we also have an Inteleon, so we can quick shooting, place some damage counters down. We're going to put them on the Duraludon, and then we will max Thunder Rumble. 100 to the active, 100 to the bench. The ability doesn't trigger because of the Path of the Peak, so we are looking like we're in a good position. And you can see, Path of the Peak is a super, super valuable card that can really create problems for your opponent. And our opponent now is bricking. They do not have access to their Zacian, so we are in such a good position. We are going to ping the active, then we are going to use Evo Incense, I think. I think we might actually be in a position to win the game here. Let's just think about this for a second. We can Inteleon, we'll play that down. We will be able to use Quick Shooting, place that damage on the active Duraludon. Then we need, what, an extra 20 damage? We can't get there at the moment, but we definitely can get the knockout very, very soon. Next turn, we will be able to get it. We'll max Thunder Rumble here, deal 100 to the active, take 3 prizes on the bench, and we have just completely locked our opponent out of playing this game. You can see, when you do get this lock going against decks that are punished by it, you find yourself in winning positions very, very quickly. Our opponent's gone for the research. Now, there's no way for them to prevent themselves losing this turn, because we can just quick shooting the Duraludon, and yeah, they're just going to concede. That was a big win. We'll see if we can find another one against another meta-relevant deck. Alright, another game going here. Not quite as good a start as our last one, but hey, we can't complain. We've got double Sobble if we want one. I might actually grab the Drizzile, because I know that we need to get out of this hand next turn. We'll attach to the Zigzagoon, just in case we need to retreat, and then we will pass. Our opponent has a Sobble in their active, so they could be playing pretty much anything. Maybe they're playing Jolteon, Rapid Strike Urshifu. There's a whole number of decks they could be playing. Sableyes could be an option. So there's a bunch of stuff that we could find ourselves up against. A Dark Energy does suggest that it's probably going to be that Sableye list. Maybe a slightly more single prize focused version. I know that those have been doing the rounds recently, so definitely worth testing this one out. It looks like they've had a pretty average start as well. Attaching to their Sobble is not great. It's not bad. It's probably a pretty good start for them in reality, and they've elected to Marnie us, which I'm not unhappy with at all. They're going to keep calling, which will set their board state up, and they've got a coughing there, so they will be able to get a couple of prizes, not a couple of prizes, a couple of turns of ability lock-off at some point as well. But on our side of the field, we're doing pretty well. We've got an Elemental Badge on a Jolteon and a Sobble. We can Marnie them as well. We're looking for an Energy, which we've found. That's fantastic. Very, very good here. We can play down the Sobble and then use the Speed Lightning Energy here. There's a Path to the Peak, which doesn't really matter in this matchup, plus another Quick Ball. We know we are unlikely to be able to use abilities next turn, so it's worth keeping that in mind. I will play down the Path to the Peak, and then I will probably just go for a Thunder Spear here. Again, I'm getting these little notes telling me how to play the game. We will place 20 damage onto the benched Coughing. There's a very specific reason for that. Weezing has 130 HP. Next turn, we can evolve into a Jolteon VMAX, and as long as we can find a single scoop up net, we'll be able to scoop up our Zigzagoon and ping the Coughing if it becomes a Weezing, which it looks like it's going to be, and then we can potentially take the knockout here. So that's a very, very good position for us to be in. The issue that Jolteon does have, though, is that Jolteon lists tend to play a very light boss count. So Boss's Orders is not a card that this deck plays a lot of. We only have 1 or 2. So we will only be able to do this play once. We're going to need to make sure that we get a whole bunch of stuff happening as quickly as possible, preferably before they set up another Weezing. Because if they do set up another one, we're probably going to find it really, really hard to get out of the position that we're in. So we will see. It's unfortunate here we don't actually have access to another way to ping a Pokemon. We can Quick Ball for the Zigzagoon, which is obviously priority number 1. A Scoop Up Net off of the top deck would be great. A Drizzile would be even better, because then we will be able to get a little bit further with our board state, but we could get locked in a bit here, which is a bit awkward. But we have to wait and see. You never know. Our opponent might find themselves in a bad position as well. Although they have 4 Sobbles in play. 2 of them are now Drizziles. They're looking pretty good, to be honest. And they've got a Sableyes as well. And they're playing Professor's Research. So, you know how I said that maybe they're not going to have a great turn? They're having a perfectly good turn. So, that's a yikes from me. But hey, listen, now at least we're in a position where we can gust up the Sableye. The Sableye is very awkward for them to get out of the active, and we put some damage onto a 2-prize Pokemon as well. Yeah, I know, I've been poisoned. I've been poisoned before game. Okay, Boss's Orders. Oh my god, now I got a Quick Ball here to get the knockout, and I have to play one of these bosses. I think I might have to Quick Ball a boss. As awful as that sounds, I feel like I might need to Quick Ball a boss. And I literally just said, why did I grab that? I grabbed the wrong Pokemon. Oh well, Max Thunder Rumble is fine. It's fine. It's fine. We've benched a Jolteon. Should have grabbed the Zigzagoon. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, guys. Don't worry about it. You know, it's one of those ones where you just click in the buttons and you just go click, 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 and then... Okay, this is bad, but that's okay. We're gonna be fine. 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 At least this way they have no way of playing down a fresh Weezing, which would be very awkward for us to deal with. And we can knock that Weezing out at some point in the future. We also have the ability to knock out Inteleons if they ever come into the active, but since we don't have Boss's Orders now, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. So we're going to have to hope that this Marnie hits well. It's pretty much where we're at. We're going to have to hope that this hits incredibly well, because we only have a couple of outs to taking knockouts here, and we want to take those knockouts as quickly as we can. So might be a point where we just leave the Weezing in play, and who cares? You know, we might just leave it there. They have an air balloon from the Sableye, so looks like they can get out of the active, and they've got the Weezing back in there. They'll severe poison us here. Now, we've got 3 prizes this turn, but the problem is we don't have the next 3. We could be in a real awkward position here. I've just noticed, by the way, that my... Here, let me just pull this back. Got some weird bloom going on there. There you go, it's fixed now. Alright, what are they going to do? They're going to pile up damage on this Jolteon. I'm actually very worried about this. We could be in a rough position here. We've got Marnie, though, which is good. We've got Research, which is even better. Let's go for that. And see what we can find. Now, we don't have access to any of our abilities this turn, which is very awkward, but we do at least have the ability to evolve. So, even though the ability doesn't proc, we can still evolve. I'm going to do that to 2 of our little Sobbles on the bench there. We're going to put those Drizziles in place so that we can get access to our Inteleons next turn, because we do need them. We need them a lot. Our opponent is going to be in a position now where they can deal a ton of damage to us with a Sableye. Even worse, they can probably knock us out with a Moltres now as well. We are very, very quickly finding ourselves in a rough position. It looks like, for all intents and purposes, it looks like we are in a winning position, but we know that these single prize Dark decks can come back from anywhere and put us to shame. So we do need to be careful. I'm not necessarily hating the fact that we got that Jolteon now, because we're probably going to get knocked out. Let's just acknowledge that as a fact. We're probably getting knocked out next turn. So I'm not upset about the fact that we've got the Jolteon now, but we are kind of in an awkward position, because if our opponent takes a KO this turn, which they almost certainly will, then we are probably going to find ourselves with only one Jolteon left, and a second Sableye from our opponent will just be able to knock it out. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, if you look at the poison counter. I can barely point. Look at the poison counter. Look at the number 4 just hovering out of existence every time the Jolteon's pattern shifts. This game is busted. Absolutely broken. You can tell that they've not done any work to it at all. They're just waiting for Live to come out. This is like, it's one of those ones where I know Live is coming out soon, but every now and then you just see a visual glitch that you just know this game is not supposed to exist anymore. The V-Star counters are just like a PDF. It's just a PDF of the V-Star emblem on a white background. They haven't even bothered to do any texturing to it. You can tell they do not care at all about PTCGO anymore, which gives me faith that maybe Brilliant Stars will be ushering in a new era of Pokemon PTCG Live. Maybe. Unlikely though. I'm not feeling comfortable. I'm not feeling confident. I don't know that it's going to happen, and ultimately it doesn't. There's nothing I can do about it. I just have to wait and see. Anyway, what was I talking about? We've got our opponent going for a Moltres here. They have a quick shooting Inteleon on the bench. They're probably grabbing, Coughing and Sableye with Clara, as well as a couple of extra energies. One Dark Energy is perfectly fine. They'll attach to the Moltres. Oh god, what's going to happen here? They're going to play down another Sobble. The worst bit is it's really hard for us to knock this Galarian Moltres out. It is really, really hard. We have to use double Inteleon to get 2 prizes this turn, and even if we do get 2 prizes, our opponent can just come in and knock us out with another Moltres. So we kind of find ourselves in a really uncomfortable position. I've said that a number of times already. I know that it's repeating myself, but it's true. It's not great. But, we're going to wait and see how it goes. Either way, this matchup is a very, very good one for both decks. Like, it's interesting for both decks. It's what Pokemon is all about. You're kind of trying to play around each other's strategy, Weezing slowing down those abilities, whilst we're taking knockouts on Inteleons, theoretically. We had a slow start as well, and we are in a position to win the game. So it's worth noting that too. We are in a position to win. So we'll wait and see how we go. Now, our opponent has taken their knockout, and we are in a very, very strange spot now. What are we going to do? Okay, we're going to throw the Jolteon into the active. We're going to evolve, obviously. That's number 1 priority. Now, we don't want to give our opponent access to Sableye this turn, because if they have access to Sableye, then they can just knock us out straight up. So we're going to draw some more cards here. Let's go for an Evo Incense to find ourselves Inteleon. We also have a Cheryl in the deck somewhere, which is fantastic. We could potentially go and find that, which could put us in a position to win the game. We'll play down Path of the Peak, stop our opponent from getting those cards. What I'd really have loved to do here would have been to Marnie, but unfortunately we don't have access to that anymore. So we're going to go for quick shooting. We're going to ping the Inteleon over there, and then we're going to ping the Coughing. Now, the reason for this, I don't want to give our opponent space. I don't want to give our opponents space to do stuff. I want to make sure that they cannot utilize Sableye next turn. The only way that we can do that is by, firstly, making sure that we don't knock anything out. So we're going to ping this here. We're going to go for the Inteleon as well. We can't knock anything out, and we also have to hope that they don't have Scoop Up Net. If they don't have a Scoop Up Net, then we might actually be able to win this game from here. Because they need, so they need 2 cards. If they've got a Scoop Up Net, they win, or if they have a Wheezing, they probably win as well. Just because we don't have the ability to ping everything the amount of times we need to ping it. So now that I'm looking at this position, maybe it was an intelligent play, but perhaps we needed to have one. Maybe we needed an extra turn. I think we needed to have played an extra turn. So missing at the start is a problem. They're going for the Evo Incense here. If they go for the Wheezing, that's a problem. They retreat into Wheezing, they just win the game. Because I don't think we can deal with that. They can't knock us out. There's no way for them to knock us out. We haven't taken enough prizes. And they cannot get the Sableye in play. But if they retreat into the Wheezing, then that's going to be it. So we just have to sit and hope here. They have the Wheezing. Okay, so now we have to hope that they don't play the Wheezing. Please don't play the Wheezing. So, okay, that's fine. They played it. Don't retreat into the Wheezing. Or use Switch or Scoop Up Net or any of the other cards you have access to. Don't use any of those. Don't go into the Wheezing. Don't put the Wheezing into the active. And it'll be fine. We'll just have a nice time. If you don't retreat into the Wheezing, then I am A-okay with that. OSJ14, if you are listening to me, please, don't retreat into Wheezing. Don't do it. He's going for the... Okay, so he's going for the Drizzile. He may not have spotted it. Perhaps. Mayhaps. He's spotted it. He's definitely spotted it. A Scoop Up Net is not a good card for us to see, and it means that, yes, we are going to lose the game. Unfortunately, there's no way, realistically, for us to come back from this. They scoop up the Inteleon, which gives them access to quick shooting. Again, they're going to play down a Sableye, no doubt, and if they attach energy to either the Wheezing or the Sableye, we are going to be in real trouble. They are taking some time to think about it, so maybe they are missing pieces here, or maybe they're just making sure that they do everything correctly. Here comes the Shady Dealings Inteleon. That's going to search out 2 more cards that they need to definitely win the game, and then they almost definitely either switch or just flat out retreat into their Wheezing and attack from there. It's a shame. I feel like we've done really, really well here, but I think the writing is well and truly on the wall. The only thing realistically that could save us now is our opponent making an error. And it isn't often that people make errors on the ladder, especially at the level that we are seeing here. I'm not saying that I'm at the top tier of PTCGO, I'm definitely not, but players that have a good idea of how to work a deck generally don't make bad mistakes. Here comes the Wheezing. All of the damage that we dealt last turn is gone, and now we find ourselves in pretty much a losing position. If our opponent if they use their Sableye and attach an energy to the Wheezing here, that's pretty much it. We have no way to Marnie them. If they have a Raihan, it's going to be game. Obviously, that's a turn in advance, but I'm just speculating here. Here comes the Severe Poison. They're going to deal a bunch of damage to us. Luckily, we aren't going to be able to take any knockouts this turn, which is a weird sentence that I don't think I've ever said before. We're just going to have to... I mean, there's nothing to be done here, really. We can search out an Inteleon if we want to, but there's nothing else really to do. We're just going to we're just going to retreat, actually. Let's just get out of here. Go into the Inteleon. We can scoop that up. And then we can go into the Jolteon and max Thunder Rumble if we want. I don't think that there's any reason for me to have done this other than to remove the poison. Maybe it could help. It's not a big deal. There's the attack. I'm fairly certain this is it. I'm gonna stick it out to the end. I'm not a sore loser here. We're not gonna let this one get to us. We're gonna say well played because it's definitely over. We just haven't managed to get that little bit of luck that we needed. The extra Jolteon in the early game could have been very strong. I don't know if we lose this turn or whether we have to wait until next turn, but the game is definitely over. We can take a prize next turn, that's fine, but there's nothing really that we can do, so it's just our turn now. We've been poisoned. and let's just throw in the towel. We'll just max Thunder Rumble. What our opponent's going to do here is they're going to go into their Inteleon. They've got a Sableye in their hand, almost certainly, and then they will use Raihan on that Sableye to deal 1 trillion damage to this Jolteon and win the game, but I think it's been a fair representation of how this matchup goes regardless. We had our board set up relatively quickly. We didn't have an attacker, but we had the rest of what we needed. Our opponent got their board set up as well, and a single turn was all it took for OSJ14 to be able to get the jump on us to win this one, but there were still several turns where maybe things could have gone our way, so definitely a good illustration of this deck. Well played to you, sir. Crazy Claws does a lazy 1090 damage, which is definitely going to take a knockout. Hey, listen, we had fun with Jolteon regardless. It doesn't matter that we lost. So we've seen it in action, but how good is Jolteon really? Well, ultimately, I think this deck is very, very strong. Its cost is it's expensive. But that's the only thing that's bad about this deck. It's very expensive, but it's very powerful and very, very consistent. If you're looking for a really good deck to play for the next couple of weeks before the new Brilliant Stars set comes out, then this could be a deck for you. I wouldn't necessarily recommend investing into it too heavily if you haven't already got most of the cards, because I don't think it's going to be as strong in Brilliant Stars, but still definitely worth a game if you do have them lying around. So there you have it, Jolteon VMAX, a super powerful and popular deck that you should probably get some games in with before the brand new Brilliant Stars set comes out. This deck probably gets a little worse from there, so make sure you prepare yourself. Otherwise, thank you very much everyone for coming along. Hopefully you've enjoyed yourself. If you haven't already, please consider liking the video, subscribe if this is the type of video you want to see more of, and if you'd like to join the channel to support monetarily, I would really appreciate that. For the rest of us, thank you very much for coming along as usual, and I will see you next time for more from the Sableyes. Bye.